We are doing how to encourage third-party events, well today, right? As clients of Pride, that we are not generally the biggest fans of events. There is a time, there is a place, there is appropriateness for events, but we do not believe in event fundraising as your main form of fundraising. So this is an important topic because this is different than special events that we have within our own organizations, right? So that's why we wanted to talk through that special four-letter word at the end, how to do it well. There is a right way, there is a wrong way. There, you want to be able to maximize your ROI in terms of what these people are doing for you. So we're going to work through that today. So next slide, please, Trish. Okay, so what is a third-party event? It's self-explanatory, right? But also it's kind of confusing. So definition of a third-party event, I am going to read directly off the slide because that's what we do in situations like this. When a nonprofit relies on their supporters, community members, and businesses to create a fundraising campaign that benefits your nonprofit, right? So it means a third party, not your organization, someone else is fundraising on your behalf. Golden, right? Most of the time, some of the times, if it's done well, right? That keyword, well. It can be a great way to add to your bottom line. It can be a great way to fundraise for your organization. It can be a great way to reach out to people that you might not have connections to. Using a third party, you are getting access to whoever it is that they are working alongside. So that is a great benefit. But what a third party event is it's not as much of your staff time. You are not specifically putting on this event. It is not your golf outing hosted by your nonprofit. It is potentially a golf outing hosted by someone else where you get the benefit. Fantastic. All right, next slide, please. Why do we want them? In short, they do the work, our mission gets the money. It doesn't get much better than that. A truly well done third party event where you are able to show up, you're able to smile with your beautiful smiles and hold a check that they are presenting to help you further sustain your mission. That is delightful. It's a dream, right? They are essentially being donors to us in the way that most donors are, where we ask for money and they give us money. We don't have to do a ton of work on the back end in terms of staff time and resources that are happening. They do it. They feel all good and fuzzy about it. We feel really good and fuzzy about it, and it can be a win-win-win. In short, they are doing the work. Our mission is getting the money. So we're going to talk through why that is so important to continue to align with our mission and how that can go wrong really, really easily and really quickly. And we need to make sure that that is aligned properly. Next slide, please. What is our role in the event? So this is where we need to focus on that four-letter word of well. Right? So we need to make sure that the event aligns with our mission and our organization. I cannot encourage you enough or stress enough to make sure that this is where you start. When someone approaches you and says, hey, we're going to do a fundraiser. We want to give you our proceeds for the event. So many questions, okay? So many questions that you need to have for that person, that organization, as to what that specifically looks like. And that starts with, does it align with the mission? Do they align with the mission? I'm going to use a specific example within this space that there can be organizations who do not align with what you do. For example, if you are a Catholic healthcare system, you might not want a place like Hooters to be sponsoring a third-party event for you. If you're a church, also probably don't go that route, or a school. Maybe let's just stay away from Hooters sponsoring our events. Probably a great place to sponsor many things, chicken wing eating contests and such of that sort, but maybe not nonprofits. But that's an example for you to say, if the community hears about this, if my top 5 donors hear that this organization or this group of people are wanting to support us, are they okay with that? Does it make sense? Am I borrowing trouble in that this organization has maybe a really outspoken person who speaks against whatever it is that our particular beliefs are? Be mindful of that. If you're in a smaller community, be very mindful of it. If you're in a larger community, it's a little different, but make sure that those people who are running the events, I'll give you another example. Part of an organization who supports children who have been removed from their homes. Was approached by an organization that wanted to do a third party event as a celebrity bartenders, where they were basically encouraging people to go to a restaurant and to purchase all of these celebrity drinks from these celebrity bartenders and basically have a really good time drinking alcohol. And that particular board said, you know what, the majority of our kids are in care because of alcohol issues. Maybe not a good idea to for this to be the partnership. So that's what we mean specifically by making sure that that mission, that their mission aligns with your mission, that they're good people that align with, just save yourself the heartaches there. Make sure it's meaningful. What does that mean? Make sure that it is something that is positive, that when your constituents and their constituents see it, that it is something positive and meaningful that can be used in a multitude of ways for you to be able to use that as a platform, not only as receiving money, but saying, look at this great work that happened, or look at this really cool thing that this group was able to do in order to support our organization. We'll get to that in just a second and promoting the event, but it is important that it's meaningful, that it is positive. You don't want to be a part of something that is negative in any connotation or that isn't meaningful. Make sure you understand the plan and the goal. This is a fine line that you walk when it comes to special events that are hosted by third parties, because you don't want to do the work, right? And a lot of us are really good at what we do, and that we are really good in the details, and we maybe are a little bit of control freaks. So it can be really hard to get the plan and get the goal without wanting to take it over, right? But that defeats the purpose of a third party event. A third party event done well, we want to show up, we want to get a check, we want to smile for the paper, the pictures for the paper, and we want to tell them thank you. We don't want to run it. We don't want to be there devoting our staff time. We don't want to take away from what we should be doing with our day jobs, which is asking for big money, right? So make sure that you understand the plan and goal is a conversation that you have with the person organizing. What is it that you're doing? Why did you choose us? What is my specific role in this? What do you need from me? Make sure, and Jake is going to talk about this later in terms of a formal agreement, but you do need to understand all of the details, not all the deep details, what kind of flavor cupcakes are you serving, or, those type of things. But you do need to understand the plan and the overall goal for the event. Promote the event. We absolutely should be promoting the event. And that's why those first three are so important, making sure it aligns with our mission so that we can promote it, making sure it is meaningful so that we can promote it, making sure we understand the plan and the goal so that we're comfortable promoting it, because we should be promoting it. They are having it and they are wanting to give the money to us, and they are wanting, more often than not, accolades for doing that. We owe it to them to promote the event. You've got that crossover, right? They've got their constituency that's coming to the event, and you have your constituency who might be interested. So promote the event. Isn't this wonderful that organization XYZ is doing this to support us? Would you support them in this? Also, it kind of light bulbs for other people, right? To say, oh, hey, I never thought of that. I never even thought, we could totally do something like that and give our money to Heroes Path or whatever it is. The more you promote it, the more outreach you have in terms of being able to say, we touched more people than we were able to without doing this. That leads us into capturing the impact. Make sure that you are utilizing the constituents that came to that event through that third party. You want to capture that impact, not just the money, but also the constituency. You want to make sure that you are able to utilize the people who are now invested in your mission, whether or not they know it or not. It's your job to capture that impact, right? So we've made sure that it aligns with our mission. We've made sure that it's meaningful. We understand the plan and goal. We've promoted it within our own organization. We need to make sure that we capture the impact. Otherwise, it might not happen again next year. And that leads me to the final piece here, which is thanking. I think this gets missed a lot when we do third party events. We feel entitled that we're getting the funds and how awesome is this? And we show up and we take the picture and that's fantastic. And we feel kind of like they're thanking us sometimes, right? Like, thank you for the good work you're doing. We're so appreciative of you that we're giving you this donation. Don't get caught up in that. Okay. They are telling you thank you. They are saying you do wonderful work, so much so that we're hosting this big event or little event, and we are giving you the money that we raised for this event because we believe in what you're doing. Don't forget to say thank you, because a lot of work went into that. Events take a lot of work. I don't care how big they are or how small they are. Those people donated their time, they donated money, they donated a whole boatload of things that you're probably not even aware of to make sure that this happened. And yes, it's beautiful and lovely that you're able to show up and reap the rewards, but make sure that you say thank you. Do something a little special for them and say, you know what, this was amazing. These are the patients that you helped through the funds that we received. Do touch points with them, do stewardship with them, treat them just like they are one of your donors, okay? Because they are. So make sure that you are giving back to them in a true stewardship and saying thank you. Do not miss this piece, because next year when it comes around and they've had the time of their lives having a golf outing or doing a bake sale or a car wash or whatever it is, and we'll get into examples later, or they're hosting dinner parties at their house. Whenever it comes time for them to sit down and say, okay, who are we giving to this year? You want it to be you. And if you've done a good job of thanking them and showing the impact, showing, these are the students that were able to come to school because of the monies that you donated, or these are the patients that we were able to help, or this is the programming that we were able to provide because of the event that you put on. If you've done a really good job of saying thank you to that organization, they're going to say, hey, you know what? We're going to stick with what we did last year. That was fantastic. We feel like we made a difference. We feel like we can make a difference again this year. We're still in contact with that organization. They made us feel really good about what we did, as compared to, well, we took that picture with them and their name's still on our dry erase check and we haven't heard from them since then. Don't do that. Don't do that. That the simplest way to make sure that we continue with these third-party events is to make sure that we say thank you. And we know that from our day jobs, right? We are thanking people day in and day out because of the amazingness behind what they do. So just recapping there, make sure that the event aligns with our mission so that you can do those last three, right? Make sure it is meaningful. Make sure you understand their plan and goal. And Jake's going to get into that in just a moment. Promote that event, capture the event, capture the impact and report back on it. And make sure that you're making them feel really special for what they did. Next slide, please. And that leads us into Jake talking about kind of the detail that needs to go into what our role is within third-party events. So take it away, Jake.
Thanks so much. So obviously we've kind of talked through some of the theory and the do's and don'ts, but we would really love for everyone here with us today and watching this recording after the fact to have some kind of practical steps into, hey, if we're actually want to do this, what are the things we need to do and in what order? One of the most important things that is often overlooked because the organization or the business or whoever's starting the event or comes to with the idea doesn't necessarily think about is getting some sort of a informal MOU or I can't even never say the word memorandum. I was going to say memoriam. That's not the right word. Memorandum of Understanding, which is just a less formalized agreement in terms of a contract. So it's just kind of two different organizations saying we're going to put something in writing of like, these are our responsibilities, these are your responsibilities. You have a representative from each organization sign it mutually, and it's pretty clear. We try to avoid heavy legal language here. Usually, it's pretty clear. Mostly, what this does is protects you from the things that you might feel obligated or they think you're obligated to provide. Like, well, you're going to take care of catering, right? Or you're going to call and get the people here, right? It's like, we really want as the organization to do very little. As we mentioned, we'll help promote and do some of the things that Shauna mentioned. But this is truly a third party because we want a third party to take on the brunt of the time. We're trying to free up our time as staff and volunteers of our charity. So this just kind of outlines, here's what we can and can't do. And we'll look at some examples that are not necessarily event-based, but just kind of ongoing revenue things. And again, we want to try to put the burden of that on the people who are organizing the event. And this is just a way of outlining that. If you don't have one of these or you don't have kind of a standard template, just let us know. We can help you get started on this. But once you create it for the first time, you can usually have a standard template you use for all third-party events and just kind of apply it around. So definitely want to start with just having some kind of a document in place. So in case someone does approach you about a percentage night or, hey, we want to do this gala for you, that you're like, yep, ready to go. We already have our kind of like legalese, our policies in place. If someone asks us about this, we're ready to go on it already. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you're wanting to start this, you want to drum up some events, the power of suggestive selling. So where does this kind of start? Usually it's someone who's affiliated loosely with your organization or directly as a staff person. So whether it's your volunteers or board and they're giving some time to your organization or sometimes even your executive team, the other organizations that they have connections with, or say you have someone who is the senior manager at your local Kroger and they serve on your board locally. They'll have a lot of pull to do whatever they can at Kroger, but they're also giving some of their time to your organization. So kind of go down your roster of people, especially in volunteer leadership and executive leadership roles. What connections do they have with what other businesses? Event venues is a great one, obviously. So just kind of brainstorm. This is going to be unique to everyone, depending on where you are. But kind of look down and say, here are the people we can approach. The other thing being organizations in town that you're like 1 degree of separation away from, or there may be a business donor, or they know a business donor. And the what can be all kinds of things. The event itself can be everything from just straight out percentages of revenue to actual one-time events, concerts, house parties, galas and golf tournaments and those kind of things are really popular. Car washes are popular. Things that aren't terribly difficult for that organization who does that thing already to do, but would be a ton of work for you to do, not being in the baking business. You having a bake sale would be very difficult. A local bake shop would be able to have a bake sale very easily. So you're trying to maximize time for everybody and shifting towards the things that they're already thinking about, that they're already doing, goes a long way. So most of the time, this is you, the fundraiser, having to kind of start out and come up with these ideas and make suggestions to people. But sometimes people will approach you about this, and you just want to have some kind of a policy and set procedure in place of, okay, if someone wants to come to us about a third-party event, we want to be really clear up front. Here are the different things that we allow. Here are the different things that we do. Here's how we tend to structure that. But you can also seek those actively yourself, saying, oh, actually, we know we have someone on our board who has a bakery, just to use that example again. We'd love to have a percentage night for this, this kind of a thing, or this whole week, or from now on, if they buy this specific pastry, 2% or 5% of the proceeds will always go to this local nonprofit. With businesses particularly, and we talk about this in business giving a lot, we have to find some way to incentivize the business to help us. Yes, there is a level of altruism in that. They are doing it because they love charity and they want to help. And we hope that our community members always want to do that. But generally, for them to justify taking out time, effort, money, staff, all of that, they have to have some reason. And 9 times out of 10, it's just really good visibility for them. Say that there is a percentage night at your local Chipotle. I feel like sports teams do this a lot, with like public schools and kind of thing. You see these kind of things all the time. Chipotle is all about that because though they're giving 15% of the proceeds that night, the whole team and all their families and a bunch of people from the school are all going to go to Chipotle and they're going to pack Chipotle that night. So they're giving a pretty decent check to the local nonprofit that night, but they're also profiting a lot more than they normally would. They're filling up on a Wednesday night, which they don't normally do. So that's a big deal for that charity. or just a big deal for that business to be able to give to that charity because they're making money as well. But on top of that, if it's a one-off event and it's not just a percentage of something, they get great visibility. They get their brand associated with someone who's giving back, and then they get a couple of their executives to stand there with the big check. So it's advantageous to them for the brand identity stuff, but also just straight out marketing. If you're going to promote the event, you're going to put their logo on your stuff, and you have your audience and they have their audience. So they're kind of local expanded, especially for locally owned businesses that are not necessarily like a Kroger branch, but it's like a more mom and pop style shop, are going to love getting visibility from 9 times out of 10, some of the bigger nonprofits, especially in healthcare, are some of the larger employers in town. So a lot of people know who you are, and you can really benefit from that, and they can benefit from that as well. So just giving them a reason to justify the event, whether that's visibility, good notoriety, kind of representation with charity altruism, or straight out just more cash that night or bigger sales that day, can make a big difference. The last thing I'll mention before we go to the next slide is a lot of times we see, if there are competitors, I'll use like Target, Walmart as an example, and you are advertising all the time that like if you shop at Target, you have the option to like always round up to give to your organization. People who have the option to shop at Target or Walmart may tend to go to the one that's going to give to charity. That may not be the best example because like the constituencies of Target and Walmart are obviously a little bit different people. Target's maybe a little fancier. But in general, if you have two competing businesses and you have a deal with one of them, it can encourage locals who want to support you to lean towards that one if they have a choice. So with that, let's look at some specific examples because there's obviously some great ones that our clients have done over the years. Love the title of this one, From Home of the Innocents. It's just free ways to support home. So, there's people who are like, I can give, but I can't give much. I want to do more. It's like, well, great. There's a bunch of ways that you're probably already spending money at one or more of these places. They're going to give a percentage or they're going to do something for us if you do that. So log in with your Kroger Plus account and have, our charity is your charity of choice under there, and we get a portion of the purchases. Amazon Smile is great. You get 0.5% of everything you purchase towards a charity that you designate. As long as you're signed up with your EIN under Amazon Smile's account, that's just passive revenue that you can get from now on. Just, advertise it occasionally, put it on your website. It's really easy, very low labor intensive for you. And these are not necessarily one-off events, but they're kind of ongoing purchase agreements that you're getting percentages of. So these organizations are getting free advertising from you. If people are not necessarily shopping or not shopping as often, they may shop more often at these places. So it's very beneficial. You can present it as an offer to these businesses that are obviously, highly incentivized to do this. And then once you set it up, you can kind of set it and forget it. You're welcome to market it and advertise it and put it out there. But for the most part, this is something that you'll kind of set up one time and you'll kind of get recurring revenue for a while. So you kind of play in the long game. Same thing with this Hospice of Humboldt example. They partner with Target Circle to go through and say, hey, we can be the charity of choice. Target shoppers can get a direct portion of the revenue donated to us. Here's how you sign up. So Target is excited because people are like signing up for their subscription partnership thing. And the local charity is excited because they're getting a percentage of that increased revenue. So great examples of kind of just ongoing, not so one-off. Next slide. Over here on the left is some recognition. I think this is from an annual report where people have kind of recapped all of the year's third-party events. So Shauna mentioned earlier about making sure to thank people in as many ways as possible, whether that's a plaque that they get to display on their business, recognition on social media, but to actually go through and recognize every single business and have a little paragraph about what they've done over that year within your annual report goes a really long way. And gives you a chance to send that annual report to that business and they're going to share it. So it just gives everybody more visibility, not to mention the dollars that you're actually getting from those individualized events that you've hopefully set up in your MOU in advance so that you're making sure that you're not doing too much on your end in terms of your staff time, volunteer time, but they're really handling that. And ideally you get a check at the end of that. But to make sure we're recognizing these people, we're going out of our way to have the pictures of the big checks. And it helps kind of the community relations as well. You can do much simpler things like we have for this Chapters Health Foundation here on the right. This is just, again, easy social media posts, and tagging them is awesome. As soon as you tag them, the first thing they're going to do, of course, is share it. It's great visibility from them. They're getting more eyes on their stuff. They're getting more brand identity. So really rising tide, raising all boats in the situation. But again, after you've already completed the event, make sure you're talking about it, making a big deal about it, because it will also encourage other organizations who see if Culver's has a competitor, if there's a Red Robin in town, they might also want to do some sort of an event, which is going to increase their net revenue. Even though they're going to give a percentage to you, their overall revenue is going to go up because more people are going to attend, more people are going to go and eat there, spend money, spend more time there. So it really helps everyone. It's just about publicizing it. So once you get one, they tend to kind of fall like dominoes. So as you're getting one set up, make sure you're making a big deal about it on the back end so that other business leaders in town get excited about it and say, hey, I saw you did that thing with Culver's. What's the deal with that? How do you structure that? How does one set that up? And you can say, well, we got a policy in place for that. Here's how it works, and here's what you do. And everybody gets excited. And sometimes you can raise in the $10,000-$20,000. And unlike a regular event, if we say regular fundraising event, where you're doing all of it and you may raise $10, $50, $100,000, but it's 6 months of work, this might be slightly less, but you do basically no work, which is really the ideal event for any fundraisers, to have someone else do it and then you get the check at the end. So some great examples of recognition. All right, next slide. With that, we'll turn it back over to Shauna to give us some final thoughts and wrap us up here.
Yeah, wonderful. I think that it is important when you're looking at your portfolio of third-party events, and maybe you don't have one yet, maybe this is an area that you're wanting to get into. It's always important to set a goal, right? So set a tangible goal for the rest of the year, or set a goal for your next year that I would like to have 2 events done in honor of our mission. Or I would like to have 10 events done. And what does that look like? So the next step for that is establish a plan. It's great to set a goal. We don't figure out how we're going to reach that goal, we're probably not going to reach it. So establish your plan after that. I need for this staff person to reach out to 20 places in order to be able to get 10. Or we need to sit down and talk with our board members about opportunities. Take a look at the places that we just listed for you. Home of the Innocents had some great ones. Reach out to your targets, send out, have a goal be to get, 10% of your employees, or 10% of your board, 100% of your board and 10% of your employees to designate you as their Amazon Smile. Give yourself tangible goals that you can work towards, that you can then increase on an annual basis, or you can reevaluate on an annual basis. Again, the goal here is not to make this your full-time job. If you are doing that, if you find yourself all of a sudden like, oh my goodness, well, today is all about, running to make sure that I can take a picture here. And this place asked if we would give a gift basket for this event and all those things, you're going about it in the wrong way. You want to take a deep dive, take a deep look at what you want, what is beneficial to you. If it's an organization that takes up a whole boatload of your time and you get a $500 donation, maybe not the best use of your time. So set your goals and that might not be revenue-based goals, but it might be specific. I'd like to have 3 places that are giving to us from a third-party event, and I would like to have it look like this. MOU in place. This is what the recognition looks like. This is how we say thank you. And this is going to be our special event third-party plan for our organization, right? And make sure that you have, or something as simple as we'd like to get an MOU in place. We don't have one of those. We probably need one. That's my goal for the next 2 months, is to make sure that I get this plan in place, and then we'll establish next steps. So set a goal, establish a plan as to how you are going to reach that goal. And then raise more money. That's the end goal, right? That's what we want for all of our clients. That's what we want for all of our people that are joining us. We want for you to be raising more money to make sure that you can help more people through your mission. And third-party events, if done well, can do that. So next slide, please, Trish. How to encourage third-party events. Well, are there any questions, any clarifications, or any aha moments that anyone had in terms of how we could help provide more information to you? Or are there any things that you have done that you want to share with the group? Not everyone all at once. I do wish that that Cornerstone was on here, because they are really good at this. They have a lot of third party events that they are driving around to and picking up checks. So if you have questions, you don't feel like you want to be on the spot today and talk through it, feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help you set those goals, to help you take a look at what that program looks like for you. So we do want to wrap up today by talking through upcoming Pride virtual forums and workshops. We do have one coming up on Friday, August 19th. That'd be the keys to a successful year-end appeal. Yes, indeedy. We are already talking about year-end appeals. If you're doing a year-end appeal, and you better be, now is the time to be thinking through that. So we will have a session that is dedicated to that. Friday, September 9th, join us for evaluating the life cycle of a donor. I personally love this one. I love working through what that looks like, in terms of that once a donor is with us, they're kind of a lifelong family member of ours if we do our jobs really well. So we'll evaluate what that looks like and help make sure that you have components of your fundraising team in place for each of those parts of the life cycle. Friday, September 23rd, we're going to identify and overcome the top 10 time wasters. That is a little bit of a tongue twister, I'm not going to lie. So we will identify those, and we will learn how to overcome those, and we will set a plan as to how we are going to overcome those top 10 time wasters. And then, oh my Lanta, how exciting is this one? We are less than 60 days out from our Pride Development Institute, which is being hosted in New Orleans this year, and it is going to be fantastic. If you've not joined us before, we hope that you'll be there. You need to get registered. You need to get your teams registered. The hotel is fantabulous. New word, fantabulous. It's just fantastic. PDI is an excellent opportunity to team build, to learn, to get just a massive dose of energy, to be really good at what we do, and to forge forward in raising money for our missions. And we hope that you'll all join us. You should have a wide variety of media on how to get signed up. And if you don't know how to get signed up, then please get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to get you moving along that way. With that being said, is there anything else for the good of the cause before we wrap up?
I do. My name is Friend Sanders. I do have a question about the third party events. I represent the Home of the Innocent. We have plenty of third party events. The problem is navigating the donors to understand what a third party event is, in making sure that I am, let's see, being informational, but also respecting their wishes, but also making sure that we follow our guidelines for the Home of the Innocent. Just a few days ago, this is why I'm on the meeting, on the training, because I just had, I have a donor that want to do a fashion show for us and benefiting the home, which is wonderful. And he has benefited us before. And he's one of our donors that we have a wonderful list of history on. And so he want me to navigate the tickets sales. So I had to do a difficult discussion about our guidelines, which I have provided for him in print and an email. So my issue I'm having is those difficult discussions with making sure the donor understand our guidelines and our protocols.
You bring up a great point there, and it's having those delicate conversations saves you so much work on the front end, that this is not the intent of us getting into, us running the event. And first of all, kudos to you for standing strong, and ticket sales are a boatload of work. And that's where we say, we try to focus on, we're happy to promote. We absolutely, we are so thankful for what you're doing. We are happy to promote this, but that's the extent to which we can be involved in terms of, asking people to to sign up, or slinging tickets, or, whatever it is. Sometimes that can look like, yeah, we'll have tickets available in our lobby or whatever it looks like, but we cannot devote staff time to this. So it is hard, but the more confident you are in having those conversations and having your guidelines and knowing and doing your discernment of, yes, we want to have this event, but this is really where the line in the sand is. We appreciate you and we are so thankful for this, but for these reasons, we're not able to devote staff time because we're taking care of kiddos, like because we're doing all these things on the other side. These are the reasons why. And a lot of times it is a delicate conversation, but you can kind of turn their thought process in that, and provide some solutions for them. With this, have you thought about this part of your group, or have you thought about this piece? Giving them guidance, because you're good at what you do. You know how to make it work. Giving them some guidance as to how to make it successful without it being you that makes it successful can be really helpful as well, if that makes sense.
Yes, I did. I suggested Eventbrite, and then maybe he can do PayPal, and then pay the Eventbrite fees after that. Because Eventbrite does the work for you and help you track. So that was my suggestion.
You're golden.
Um,
You're doing good already. It is hard to have those conversations though, but it's so much easier to have those conversations on the front end than the back end. And that's why, we really talk through that discernment process and making sure that you have those MOUs and you have your guidelines and you know what you want to stand by. I know a lot of organizations aren't as far along as Home of the Innocents in terms of those third-party events. So learning from you, like you bringing this to the table is so helpful because it shows what can happen if you all of a sudden are like, oh yeah, this one time, we'll help with tickets and, we'll help with this, then holy moly, the floodgates open and you're in a boatload of trouble. And that's where these organizations are trying to come back from, okay, this is what we've agreed to do for these organizations. We're not seeing the ROI that we need on this. We need to be providing patient care or kid care or whatever it is. So we're stepping back from this. So setting those guidelines out of the gate is so important. So good job for standing your ground and helping during that hard conversation.